Hello everyone. This time the video is a viewer suggestion. Today I wanted to talk about how to keep your nectars without macro. It will also contain a guide what nectars you should prioritize, how planters work, and what each field gives. Before that, please subscribe. The channel is small like a chip's bag. First, keeping the nectars. I will keep it short. The better planters you obtain, the easier nectar gain is. What I mean is that obtaining petal planter can give you 22 hours of satisfying or comforting nectar per harvest. Heat-treated and hydroponic have similar logic too. They are mainly clay planter upgrades in terms of nectar gain. Alright, but what if you can't obtain those planters? Well, you can always use what you got. But use it smart. You using nectar jar is a no-brainer. You will usually keep one of your most important nectars in there. For early blue, satisfying, for early red, invigorating, and for early white, satisfying. But that is not all. You should also know about planter degrading. What is it? Pretty much a system to make you plant less on the same field. Let me give you an example. Let's say we plant a tacky planter on dandelion, we harvest it, and plant it again. The planter's leaves will be slightly brownish. Whenever the planter is further from the ideal green color, the slower it will grow. However, if you don't macro, we got an advantage at that. If you collect the planter, put it back again on the dandelion field, put the nectar you gained into a nectar vial, and come back tomorrow, you won't have to worry about your planter growing slower. Assuming that you won't be in the game for the whole duration of the degradation. How long is the degradation? As long as the planter requires to grow. For example, if plastic planter needs to grow 2 hours, the field will be degraded for 2 hours. However, if you sip it, also known as afking near it, the planter will grow slightly faster due to your bees. With that as a possibility, the plastic planter could be on the field for less than 2 hours, however it would still degrade the field for 2 hours. That also affects any other planter that is said to grow faster on certain fields. A red clay can be on a red field less than 4 hours, but whenever you harvest it, it will still give 4 hours of degradation on the field. Also, one more rule, if the planter was on the field for less than an hour, it will give 1h of degradation whenever you claim it. Pretty much the minimum is 1 hour. How to go around the degradation? As I said before, not being in the game or not planting any planters on that field for a specific amount of time. Alright, let's go to which planters are best for nectars and which planters to go with. Plastic planter. It has no best in slot fields, you can put it anywhere you want. Candy planter. It has motivating nectar buff, but none of the fields that make it grow faster are viable for that buff. That's why the best way to use candy is on stump field. For more jelly beans and blues. Red clay usually on fields with invigorating nectar. But for the best results in terms of high amount of nectar, pepper patch is best way to go. Blue clay. Pretty much any blue field except for stump. Bluff has refreshing, bamboo has comforting, and pine tree also has comforting. Tacky planter. It has buff for the starter zone. But to get as much nectar as possible, it's usually dandelion or sunflower. Pesticide planter. You should usually plant it on spider field. It has satisfying nectar bonus, however it's not worth it to leave the 5B zone while you got tacky on sunflower. Petal planter any white field. Heat treat and hydroponic. You can pretty much plant it on any red or blue field to gain as much nectar as possible. It has exceptions. Due to strawberry and stump, however those two planters have a chain bonus, so it doesn't matter. Planter chains are a whole different topic that I might make a video on later. I won't cover pop because at that point you already know everything I know. Alright, let's go back to the possibility of being an early hive color without petal planter and the terp planters. If you are early blue, you should first get max satisfying nectar, using tacky and pesticide, then put it in the jar. After that, you should put candy planter on stump field, tacky on dandelion, and the last one is your choice. But usually it will land on pesticide on spider field. If you are early red, you should get max invigorating with red clay and some other. Not sure which, so whenever you got max invigorating, put it into the jar, and then cycle blue clay on bluff, pesticide on spider, and tacky on sunflower. If you are early white, go with max satif, then use refreshing and motivating. Those nectars were already explained in 2 other early hive colors. One more thing, It's usually better to have 6H of a few nectars at once, than 124H nectar. The buffs will sum up to create something better. But if you follow the guide semi-close, you won't have to worry about that. Alright, let's summarize what we said. The higher tier planters you purchase, the easier it will be to obtain nectars and keep them on a high level. There are 3 things to keep in mind when using planters and getting nectars: degrading of planters, nectar jar, and planter nectar multipliers. Remember to keep in mind your strategy, and plant planters to give you the necessary nectar for your boosts or grinds. Now, I really wanted to touch a few different subjects about planters, but I would actually not be able to complete the video in time. If you want to see a video in the future about the possible loot you can gain from planters, such as consumables or waxes, tell me in the comments. Next video will be about glue and gumdrops, so if you enjoyed my content, subscribe, bell, like, comment, do all make the channel bigger than a pack of chips. Alright, Didu out.